Hey dudes, welcome. I'm Merlin. Joining me today is Toreador, and the grinder ends. Our regularly scheduled cast members can't join today, but we will endeavour to make your listening experience a pleasurable one. Please sit back, make a drink, and enjoy the Hidden City Roller Derby.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Hidden City Roller Derby. I am Toreador, aka Bert. I'm with Millen. Say hi, Millen.
G'day.
And the Grinder, aka Enzi. How you doing, man?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, doing well. So tonight we've got a bit of an anemic cast. Fan favorite and regular host Simcoff is out, as well as our illustrious Kotar winner Glenn. He's out as well, so it's just a tri-cast tonight, which is a little more dull than usual.
But so much more intimate.
Yeah, it's got a fireside chat feel, right?
Does a bit.
Yeah, definitely. Franklin Roosevelt would have been like right on this chat.
All right. So we're going to do, first up, we're going to do a little bit of a longer intro just to let you guys know who the fuck we are, given that we've been ranting at you for 2 hours combined without really telling you who we are. So why don't we start off with Enzi? How did you get into L5R and why you love it, man?
Oh, man, back when I was like 14, living in the outskirts of Vancouver, British Columbia. I had been playing a lot of Decipher games, so Star Wars, Star Trek, that kind of stuff. And Star Wars had died, and Lord of the Rings was kind of out or about to come out. And so people were like, oh, I know you've heard of L5R, try playing this. And so people gave me a Unicorn deck, and it was Gold Edition, and Unicorn was absolute rubbish. So, like, I can identify with all the current Pony players. And I quickly discarded that in favor of Lion, which is just tacticians unique. You just crush promises constantly, and it felt good. Yeah, and then I got into Phoenix, and Phoenix is what allowed me to kind of become a half-decent player. So my first Cote, I went down to Seattle. I was 15, and I ended up getting 4th place, playing a Morning Glory Castle Phoenix Recursion deck using Tudor Retainers to kill my guys and bring them back from the dead using the Stronghold. For
dirty
honor.
boy. You dirty boy.
So I played Honor Runners for years, and I've been the bridesmaid at a lot of Cotes in the Northwest, and I've never won one. So yeah, I'd like to say that my time is due, but not quite there. And why am I called the Grinder? Well, that's from Toreador here. He named me the Grinder after our first new 5R tournament, CanCon, back in January, where I lose 2, and then I ground out and made it, and then I lost to him in the finals, as is my tradition. But yeah, a couple times I've done that. Lose the first 2 back in the go 5-2 and you're in the cut days. I'd lose 2 and come up the back ladder. So yeah.
And is it true? I've heard that you've got a new sponsorship with a particular app that shares your namesake. Is that true?
No, it's not true. Those are unsubstantiated.
Playing coy, you got to wait for the NDA to expire and all that. I understand.
Exactly. Yeah. I got to wait for my sweet app money to come in.
All right, Merlin, what do you got? Tell us about yourself.
I think my story is actually kind of the same as Chris's. I played Star Wars Decipher and Star Trek Decipher. I don't think the game was actually dead when I started playing, but I met another guy, and he played Unicorn and Totori's army, I think it was, against me, and he just crushed me with cavalry constantly. So I decided that this couldn't go on. I had to start playing this game, and I started playing Crane. I started playing like Solitaire, as you do with Crane, and I started winning and kind of got hooked, I suppose, at that point. I think the first set of decks that I started playing was back in Jade, so I tell people that I've been playing for 20 years, but I actually haven't been playing for 20 years. It's more like 18 years or 17 years, whatever it is. I took a bit of a break after I finished high school and decided to go travel the world and things like that. And then I came back to Australia, and lo and behold, there was a play group for Legend of the Five Rings again. And I started playing, and I made some really good friendships, and I have just kept playing. Back in, I think it must have been 2015, I ended up winning a Kote in 20 Festivals edition. And then shortly after that, I was, to my bitterness, the news about the game being sold was announced, and I would never get to see my name on a card. So I'm very upset about that. So now I have to go and play again and get better and go to Worlds and things like that so I can get my bloody name on a card.
And you are a recent Hatamoto for the new game, is that true?
It is true. I have no idea how I managed that. My arch nemesis, actually. My arch nemesis was at this event, right? Conan Trainer from Albury. I never, ever, ever win events that he's playing in. So that was pretty fun. That was a big boost to my ego.
Cool. So I'll just go over my introduction to the game quickly. My name's Bert. I lived in the States for a few years when I was in high school. And I was like an atheistic, vegan Aussie kid in the Midwest. So I was kind of a little bit of an outcast, as you could imagine. And I went to my local gaming store and just started playing all sorts of games. I started off with Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I saw this new game, Legend of the Five Rings. And there was a rat person in a kimono on the cover of one of the starter decks. And I just immediately sold all of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and just went with that. So that's how I got into the game. I never played competitively, but that was my first card game love, along with Vitesse. And then I played the Game of Thrones LCG competitively. I won Nats and a couple regionals. And then I took a few years off. And when I heard this was getting rebooted, I was like, all right, time to get back to the nerd dungeon and play some cards. And it was a lot of fun.
I heard it was kind of therapeutic for you as well, getting out of Dota and things like that, getting off the rage train.
Yeah, let's just say that MOBAs make you a worse version of yourself in all regards. And I was definitely balls deep into Dota, and yeah, my screams could be heard all around the neighborhood at like 3. There you go. But I don't rage in L5R really, not often anyway, so I like that about it.
My flatmate is big into Dota 2 as well. So if you hear any like cursing and things like that don't appear to be coming from me, that'll be him.
Yeah. Oh man, Dota's heating up too. International's coming up, so that's exciting. Anyway, so let's get stuck into some L5R. We had some new spoiled cards announced a few days ago. Do we want to talk about any standouts? I don't really want to read out all the cards and go through.
Either. Yeah, I think most people who play L5R are fairly literate, so I don't think we need to read the cards.
Yeah, there's an asterisk there.
Everybody else is reading cards, so I mean...
Yeah, like some
cool.
of the people aren't literate, but that's cool. Like,
all right, I'm going to start off. I think the Crane Bird Duelist is just hilarious. Love the artwork. The effect seems pretty strong too. What do you guys reckon, Covert?
I like all these creatures that they're bringing out. I love the fact that this guy can go in. It's a bit funny when you see like the Phoenix going into political conflicts and things like that. So I amuse at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Kenku's pretty cool. I think the ability is pretty cool as well.
It kind of mimics a duel, right? Like if you choose a guy and that guy he's useless for the turn, it kind of mimics a duel effect in a way. And he is a duelist.
Yeah, it's definitely a strong effect. I'm just actually going to get the spoilers up because I
thought we were just going to do
what the cards
I thought we were going to do ebb and flow spoilers, so I had them.
Yeah, we can talk about that too. What out of that looks good to you guys?
Dude, the new Crab Province, the Flooded Waste.
Let's talk about Flooded Waste, Water Province, 2 strength.
Yeah, okay. So, Dragon's got this really crazy row that is tough to attack into and all that type of stuff. I kind of feel like this province makes the Crab row just as difficult because the Crab are really good at defending and they can certainly win defensive conflicts if they want to. So if you don't want to get blown out by this province, you kind of need to poke. And if you start poking, you're going to hit... what's the one where you win the ring on defense?
Defend the wall.
Defend.
Yeah. So if you start poking, you're going to hit that, and then they win the ring on defense, or they've got the Shigenja out, which wins the ring on defense. So I feel like it makes it more challenging to attack into Crab, which is good.
Yeah, I think that it just really enhances the power of Iuchi Wayfinder against Crab. Like Crab, if you have the knowledge of their province, it makes their row really weak. And I think that Flooded Waste kind of plays into that unfortunate kind of weakness of Crab's row.
Yeah.
But I think that it also, because it's a water province, and water's always been the one where they're like, well, basically we'll pick Rally and put it on the box. Every once in a while you get a bit excited, you know, all nimbly bimbly, and you're putting Ride on the Streets on your box, and then you're switching back to Rally to the Cause
Anytime
because
you
you
feel
realize, oh, that was a poor choice.
Yeah, make me feel like being a bit jank.
Yeah, but then Flooded Waste just opens up the possibilities. Crab might actually put a water province in their row. Hell, Crab might actually go Secret Water, which I'm kind of keen for, you know? You could
I
put
think
Flooded Waste
that's
in your
fucking
box.
madness, Enzi. That is madness.
Well,
Secret
look,
Water.
like, this won't be the last mad thing you hear from me. So, you know.
I'm a fan of this. My first instinct when I read it was that this thing is fucking strong.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
don't
mine
think
too.
that
Yeah.
the instinct is incorrect. I think it's like a better rally, right? Like it's a guaranteed rally. It's just going to nerf all of the characters who are participating in that one conflict. It's a one-shot province. So I think Crab players will just slot it straight in for rally.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's in the row or the box, I think probably still on the box. It depends on what sort of deck you're playing against, maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like against Dragon, you don't want to have it in your row because it's too strength and they just play Pathfinder's Blade. It's a little harder to defend, and against like fast decks, like against Lion, you probably do want it in your row.
Yeah, I think if this like Unicorn and Lion decks start becoming really fast and really wide, then I think Flooded Waste in your row, it can go in your row, it can go on your box, and I think that's why it's better than Rally. Rally kind of has to go on your box. Like the way that you've built your row, you're kind of pigeonholed into one way of playing it. Whereas if this is your water province, you can kind of, you know, play the matchup a little bit better as to what goes where.
What do you guys think about this this Phoenix duel that you choose two Shigenjas to fight it out for glory?
Yeah. Chris, you want to
In
say?
the old game, that card would have been terrible because you didn't have as well a spread of useful Shigenja. And I think there was a similar card at one point in the game, and obviously it didn't see any play. But in this game, where you've got useful Shigenja in every deck, it's like, okay, this is actually a card worth considering.
Yeah, so you can hit me a Mystic if it's they don't have to be participating characters, but it does have to be during a conflict. So I'm just thinking of the commonly played Shigenja with low glory, like Mia Mystic. Kudaka is another one now that's in a lot of decks. She only has one.
Uchi Wayfinder.
Wayfinder, another good one. 0 glory on that one.
Ishken Initiate. Like basically all the conflict Shigenja.
And paying 0 for a ring effect is really nice.
Yeah, I agree.
The only thing is, some matchups it's going to be a little bit dead. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I think for that reason I think it's a one of, you know, maybe a two of in Phoenix. I don't think it sees a lot of play outside of Phoenix because I don't think people have a lot of high glory Shigenja outside of Phoenix. Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool in the Dishonor variant of Phoenix because, I mean, it means you have to put in more Shigenja, which is annoying. But that deck just needs a little bit more reach and it's going to be broken. I can tell you that from playing it a lot. There are many, many games where I barely lose because they're on 1 or 2 1 and I can't get the last hit. And so this, if you can get an air ring, a 0-cost air ring off in a clutch moment, could be pretty strong.
Well,
yeah, I think the reward is very strong, yeah.
If we were going to talk ebb and flow, one of the standout cards for me is the Elemental Master of Water. I think this card, when we get a new role unlocked for the Worlds tournament, I think this card will be really powerful. So you've got Seeker Kamis and this duel, which might be able to trigger Azunami without having to win a conflict, which would be really, really nice.
Azunami, man, what a beast.
Yeah, a tsunami.
I really like my Ancestor Strength as a splash card. Like, not really for Lion so much, but for Phoenix.
Mate, you are fucking insane. That card is bad.
Dude,
Don't you
in the Satoshi deck, you just mill yourself in my Ancestor Strength. It's good.
I guess if you can get Fushisho's stats on a 1-drop Shug, it's kind of nice.
It's value, man.
Yeah, maybe it does see play. The only problem is that if you're splashing Lion, you lose access to attachment control and like Lion Splash is bad because Lion's conflict deck is bad.
Mm.
Like nearly every other clan has a viable splash in some deck, but Lion.
Yeah, and it's only ever going to be as strong as the other characters that you're playing. And I think, well, in Phoenix, the characters that you're playing are a little bit understated for their costs, which means that you're just playing a generally low-stated kind of deck. So there's that.
I'm excited for Master of the Swift Waves. I know it's been spoiled for a while now because Brad Andres was actually playing it at a Kotai in the team event.
Mm-hmm.
But that ability of switching positions is such a cool. It's like a dual effect, right? It's like two movement effects in one. Really, really nice.
You know what else is really good? One Glory.
Yes, and the stat line is great. 3 for a 3/2.
Yeah.
Shigenja.
And it's Cav, so it's really good, actually. That
And it means Unicorn could probably play Cloud now, like reliably, if they want to. The other one that got spoiled recently that looks kind of funky is this another limit 1 per deck holding the Hidden Moon Dojo.
Yeah. Actually, I was talking to one of our other players today, Rob, who didn't think that this card was as good as all the hype. He kind of felt like, similar to Maze, there's actually a kind of a randomness to it. So on the one hand, it could flip on your right or left province, in which case kind of half of the effect is lost. Or it could flip in the middle province, and you know, occasionally you're going to be running other holdings, so it's going to flip up against something where there's another holding in place. So there seems to be kind of this wider floor and ceiling to this card than originally we were thinking.
One of the nice things about this is playing a character as if they were in your hand includes playing characters into conflicts. So it's it's kind of like an always on ambush.
Yeah.
Ambush is a little bit better value, but ambush is also cancelable, right?
Yep.
And because it's the ability to play the characters is actually part of the passive effect, it means you can play 2 or 3 characters into the conflict when you use the action on it to turn the guy face up.
Yeah.
So I can see it being. I mean, it just plays into Scorpion's existing archetype, which is to pass burst and often and then play guys from hand. So I think it's probably. I mean, I think every Scorpion deck will be playing it, right? You don't not play this card.
Well, it's a 1 in the deck, right? So you may as well, I feel.
Easy. Nice.
What was I going to say on that? Nope, can't remember. You know what?
The other card that's bonkers in this is Soul Beyond Reproach, the Crane 1-cost event that double honors a guy. I love that card.
Yeah.
The card's really strong.
Because Crane have the air roll, it's actually playable in their deck, so that's nice. That's really nice.
Do you want to go on a Frotop level rant about how you fucking despise roll locking?
No, man. That guy rants better than
Nah,
anybody I know.
we'll leave that for the Jade Throne podcast. Save up the time.
He does enough for the rest of us.
That's
I'm a
right.
big Frotop nut hugger. I love that guy, man. He's great value.
Yeah. So actually,
All right.
I like Fight On as well. You're going to say I'm crazy, but I think I'm going to try it out of Phoenix.
which
I think
one?
the Crab Splash Fight On, the water roll only. Yeah, so when you're defending player, choose a bad character you control, ready to move them into the conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, that is certainly a really strong effect, right? But
Well, it's like more straighten. I mean,
my only concern is that Phoenix has already got an abundance of straighten. I think I mentioned this in our last cast that I think maybe it's reaching saturation point where like every additional straighten effect is now no longer as like there's diminishing returns, right? If your entire deck is straighten effects, the 49th straighten effect is probably better served by Bonza.
That's right. I think the thing is with Crab Splash in Phoenix is that charge is so powerful because you get the reprieve, which means that that's your restricted slot when you go Crab Splash generally in Phoenix. So that means that you're not getting against the waves. So that means that having another stand effect actually has some more value, that you're not getting a diminishing returns curve. So
yeah, that might see play then. I mean, it's an incredibly strong effect. Whoever gets water roll is going to be pretty happy to use this in their deck after Worlds.
yeah, I'll definitely give it a shot.
All right, do you guys want to move on?
I think
I wanna
other than
call out another
Hawk
colour,
Tattoo, everything
actually.
we haven't touched on is whatever. Okay, but go for it.
So, Seeking the Truth. I can't remember if we talked about this on the last cast, did we?
We did.
We did? All right.
You were hard for it.
All right. So, just in brief then, so this is all the other cards that have +2 strength while they match the elemental role that your clan has. Seems like they're no good in those clans because they're more difficult to break. But I think this one is actually going to see play. I'm certainly going to give it a shot because it's more difficult to break. So it causes your opponent to expend more resources to break. So I think this is a standout card. And it's water, so, water's a challenge. Water's not typically been a super good slot for provinces, so this seems pretty good.
So you'd play this in your row in a keeper
Yep.
of water deck, aka Phoenix, right?
Yep. And I think air might actually go onto the box. I think I'll try that out for a while.
And then you're playing the Upholding Authority for your Earth?
Yes, yeah. So I think with this, you might actually get kind of a devastating, not a super devastating, but a challenging row in Phoenix.
Yeah, I like that. Like, there seems to be a little bit of an equalization going on. I mean, like, Dragon and Scorpion rows are still going to be by far the best, but yeah, that looks. It could be okay. I don't think it's a game-breaking card or anything.
No,
Like the fire one is completely bonkers.
yeah,
We talked about it last week. The Abandoning Honor,
yeah.
absolutely bonkers.
Speaking of bonkers, Glenn is going to be using Force of the River. You just know it. He's going to bring along a deck, and he's going to have one guy in the conflict. He's going to be like, check this out. Attaches Force of the River, brings out all of his provinces.
Yeah, this is got jank written all over it, but I do love it. The cool part about this is that if you have multiples of them, when you bring out the first however many you get of the face down cards, they get replaced face down. You can bring out another lot. Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think you're better off playing Spreading the Darkness, though, to be honest.
Right, that makes too much sense. That makes too much sense.
All right, so are there any other spoilers you guys want to talk about? I think we pretty much hit on all the cool ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Next little topic we got here is what have you guys been enjoying playing recently in this little downtime while we're waiting for the meta to kind of even out?
So as soon as Spreading the Darkness came out, I went straight for it, obviously. I did the same thing with Maze, but you know what? I think I like Spreading the Darkness a bit more in the Phoenix deck, like the aggressive tempo military type deck. But yesterday you introduced me to this kind of Dishonor theme, and so now I think what I'm going to do is try and put together a bit of a more defensive Dishonor style deck. That's
Out
what
of
I've been enjoying.
Isawa Moro Saido, the old province, the old stronghold.
Yeah, but I think I want to try. I want to try and find.
The one I was querying you about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Enzi? What have you been playing lately?
Well, I've been playing a little bit of everything because I'm now in like 3 different tournaments, and I have no time for any of them. But
oh yeah, actually, can we talk about that? You are a dual citizen in a sense, a dual L5R citizen. You're trying out for an Australian slot in the World Cup and a Canadian one. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's right. I'm double dipping.
You dirty boy.
I am a dirty boy. So I got knocked out in a pretty fierce game by this guy from Gatineau, Quebec called Adam. Really good game, playing a really interesting Scorpion deck. And all our decks for that Canadian Nationals tryout, they're all public. So you know from the beginning of the tournament what everyone's playing. So once I realized what he was playing, kind of shit myself. I was like, this is ridiculous. And it's really strong. Run 6 cancel.
Oh,
6 cancel Crane?
No, 6 cancel Scorpion. And like,
with
just conflict characters out the wazoo. Like, it's just really good. So, yeah, I hope he actually makes the team. I really do. I think it's good, and I think he's a strong player.
Nice. So what have you been playing otherwise? What sort of decks?
Well, right now I'm working on this dragon build. So running Embrace the Void, and running the new Adopted Kin card. So the idea is to get Clouds and Embrace on your opponent's characters, and then kill them off. I'm running 5 fires. And a few other things just to remove them from play and get all that fate back, and then get the Embraces and the Clouds back into your hand so you can play them again. So it's just like a value kind of deck. And it's kind of fun.
Is it working
So
out?
I've only had a couple games. Only a couple games in with it. But yeah, it seems good. Like Hawk Tattoo's pretty good to play like aggressively as well. Kind of knock people out before they can attack you back. Bit of a kind of dragon control deck. So we'll see. Dragon's kind of turned into my new pet clan of like just trying weird stuff out with.
I'm
That's
really
pretty cool
surprised.
because traditionally that clan is viewed as like a really dull solved clan. So it's cool that you're like exploring that. I think that sounds kind of interesting. If it works out, it's going to be strong, right? It's just a little slow. It's the only thing I'd be worried about.
Yeah, I think my biggest play mistake in my first game was I bought a Mitten Adept and I had a high kick and 2 hurricane punches in my hand. And I was like, I had 2 monks in my province, and then afterwards I was like, you idiot. Like you needed a monk to like play all these cards. But yeah, like I was able to consumed with an Embrace and Adopted Kin both in play on turn 2 to get 3 Fate back, and wipe out a Haughty Magistrate and some other dude on turn 2. So like the combo can kind of hit play pretty quick. Yeah, so I think it's got some legs. It's just it's one of these kind of combo-y higher skill level decks. So I'm gonna have to get a whole lot of reps in with it.
Sounds like fun to play. I've been playing a Phoenix Dishonored deck when I want to relax. That's my like relaxing wind down deck because it's super easy to play. You just defend and play the cards that are in your hand. And it's you can high roll really hard with it, so it's got a little bit of a lion flavor. Like what I do against Ben, where I just flop my Imperial Palace and my 2 libraries turn 1, that sort of thing. That's what I love about that deck. And then I've been playing a lot of Hisul Moretore Lion, Explosive Lion, which has been fun, but unwieldy. And I've found that against like expert players who are ready for what you're trying to do, it kind of falls flat. But it's a lot of fun to play. So I've been just trawling the depths of Jigoku with those 2 decks a lot.
What do expert players do against that deck?
Well, you just invest on defending, and you rely on your provinces, and you just sort of nullify.
Isn't that the trap though? Like I thought that deck would have been more aggressive and be able to kind of overwhelm the defense.
Well, for example, I played against Beishu Noman the other day. Shout out to Noman, and I sent in a solo Matsu Berserker, and I hit Shameful Display. He defended and used Shameful as his first action, and I played Spreading the Darkness into like a Legion of One, so on to break. It had a Palace on it as well, and then he just played a Cunning Magistrate into the conflict and completely turned off my entire turn, and then for the rest of the game I was dead. So like a single card can completely nullify your entire strategy. Like if you mistime something or if you fuck something up, you just fall on your face. It's completely unforgiving, that archetype. So it's a bit of fun, and you can explode out the gates and break 3 provinces, but most of the time you kind of just
Does that kind of stuff mean things like route? Sort of see more play in that deck?
Yeah, I was playing routes, but yeah, they just got cancelled.
Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this sort of intermediate meta. I didn't know if I was going to, but it seems like a lot of players, like Jigoku has been swimming with new decks, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool archetypes coming out.
Is Pack 3 on Jigoku yet?
No, there's been a bit of a delay.
Afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the guy who runs Five Rings DB has been on vacation. So and Jigoku pulls all the card images and text from Five Rings DB.
Right, okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Shout out to all those guys for doing all that great work, because definitely a big part of my renewed interest in the game has been enabled by being able to play online. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree. In fact, if there was something like this from back when I was playing Conquest, it would have been super useful. I'm really glad, Jigoku and Five Rings DB exist. They're great.
Yeah, like as a new father, I can't go to any events, but I can do all this digital stuff just fine. So fantastic.
Speaking of digital stuff, there's just a ton of it out there, right? Like, I think originally we're all aware of like Discord League and things like that, and then I was aware, obviously, of the Australian one, and I hear that there's like a European one, but now there's like Southeast Asia. There's like a Singaporean tournament going on online, and then there's the Canadian one that Urinens and there's a local guy Ray who's playing in a European, like a UK event. What was it called? Seven Thunders or something.
It's really cool.
Cool.
There's just tons of it out there.
The Southeast Asia cohort, we're going to have a special guest from that group next week, actually, hopefully. They're doing like a community-run series of events where Australia's going to have like a premier event. Singapore will have a premier event, and they're going to have one, in a few different regions that are all going to be part of this league, which will be really cool.
Yeah.
I think CanCon next year in Canberra will be the Australian event, which will be awesome.
CanCon's great. I loved CanCon last year.
That was the best time ever, right?
Yeah,
Sure
it was
was.
pretty special.
Just cases and cases of beers, vegan nachos, and
Vegan nachos, mate.
bunk beds, man, and
Yeah.
cards everywhere.
Playing the car on the way up. Yeah, it was all good fun.
All right.
All right.
So,
Speaking of, let's go archetype prediction.
yeah.
Like for Worlds?
Well, this is
Yeah.
this is a question for more like end of this third of this second arc. What decks are we expecting to be the best decks?
Yeah,
What
and I
deck's
guess
gonna
that
make a
goes into
splash?
the road to Worlds as well. Like from now, or like end of the arc until Worlds, what are we expecting to see at Worlds?
That's
Mm.
yeah, it's a really tough question. I can tell you, maybe I'll talk about Phoenix because that's kind of all I know. So I think going into Worlds, I'm predicting that they're going to have two roles available, one of which is a Seeker role. So I think in Phoenix we're going to see Seeker. I'm really hoping that it's Seeker or Void because what's that attachment? Jurigen's Curse looks like a hell of a that looks like a lot of fun to play with. You combine that with something like Five Fires and Embrace the Void and things like that, which you can play all in clan. And then you, like I was saying before, you can use Azunami to trigger water and things like that. I'm really looking forward to that deck. I think it could be strong.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare to play against the Phoenix Seeker of Void. I'm going to vomit every time I have to play against that.
I feel
But I
like
agree that that'll be a strong deck.
Yeah.
That'll be a very strong deck.
I feel like the keeper side of things, it might tend towards maybe Dishonor. I feel like the champion and the new weapon attachment, the ancestral sword of the Phoenix and things like that, really all culminate into a very defensive style deck. So I think that'll see a resurgence.
Yep. All right. I think for me personally, the Dragon Crab build is still going to be busted as all hell. Whether or not monks actually end up inserting themselves into that deck or not, I hope they do because I like the cards, but that remains to be seen. But even if they restrict Feast or Famine, which I think there's like rumblings on the internet about that probably happening, I still think that deck's going to be one of the best decks. And Crab's going to be good.
Yeah, Crab are going to keep their slow burn, defensive, sort of bleed your resources and attack you when you're weak kind of archetype. I think that's just getting more cards.
With
now,
Unicorn
right?
Splash. Yep.
Yep.
And they're going to be pulling bids lower earlier, which is scarier to play against, really. When you have to start thinking about Honor a turn or two earlier than you expect, it's really, really tough.
Yeah.
Lion's still going to be crap. Unicorn might actually get good. Like, the rumor is that their stronghold in the last pack is going to be a clone of the Lion one. And if that's the case, I think they're going to make really good use out of it and probably be a fearsome deck. The only worry is that Karada District is like a death sentence for their conflict deck. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think I'm excited for them.
You know what else
Scorpion will be
makes,
good.
You know what else makes Crab strong is the sabotage, their ability to use sabotage.
Oh man, I'm so salty about that card, dude. I've been in the salt
You and
mines
me
for a
both.
week. God. Yeah.
Actually, Unicorn, you were saying, what have you enjoyed playing recently, or what have you been playing? I've really enjoyed Unicorn. Like I I never thought that I would, but I do. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Unicorn's great.
Yeah, I think if Unicorn ends up being a contender, even if it's just tier 2 or 1.5, that it's going to blow things wide open. It's just going to change the whole meta. There's going to be a massive shakeup. It makes predictions really, really hard.
Yeah. I'm also just really enjoying having 7 clans in the game, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you like, I used to go
better, but take 7.
I used to go on competitive tag on Jigoku, and when my opponent would show up with Unicorn, I'd type in all chat like, "Are you serious, man? Like, I want to play a competitive game." You can't really do that anymore.
You troll.
Who are we missing? Crane. Jay's a little bit down on Crane at the moment. What do you guys think about Crane?
I'm a little worried about Crane. I don't think they've gotten much juice since Core. They're in a similar spot to Lion, where I think they did well at World Championships, and I think probably a few of their cards got taken away from them. It's my guess in testing and stuff because of that. But they are getting, like, Game of Sedane is really nice. The 1-cost duel that lets them dishonor the loser, and if you win, you get honored.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I think that the maze I Can Swim Mark of Shame splash deck will be a lot of fun. The murder deck. Don't know how good it'll be. One card I think that's been underrated is Bonsai Garden. It's been really helping me avoid dishonor. Like the other day, I actually saved 6 honor with Bonsai Garden in a game.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't think Crane will be like at Worlds. I don't think Crane will be making a splash. Like they might make the cut, and then they might make 1 or 2 games into the cut. But after that, I think they'll get knocked out. I'm expecting to see Dragon and Crab be the 2 best clans still, I think.
I think Scorpion will be in there. Scorpion have got plenty of good tools to deal with the field. And I think there's plenty of time between the 6-pack and Worlds for them to figure out the combination of cards that'll keep them strong.
Yeah, and Scorpion have got like a really interesting choice of splash. Like they've got probably 3 or 4 different splashes that actually can win, which is interesting.
Yep.
I think Crane have a few good players that will do well regardless of how we think Crane does overall. And yeah, I think we'll be surprised by some of the Crane placings.
I will admit that I'm not really sure what to do against Crane because I don't see them a lot locally.
I think they do have a very strong player base, especially the European Cranes. Like Crane was doing so well in Kotai's over in Europe and just getting absolutely clobbered in the States. And anytime there's that level of disparity, it's down to the player skill of those clans, I think. Like they have got a lot of talented Cranes in Europe who I think many of them will have been players who enjoyed the old game.
I think one of the things is Crane was so different in the old game as well that I think that maybe it's been really hard for a lot of players to adjust. That sit back, kind of just build your defenses, build honor, clock type deck doesn't translate well into new 5R.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, not yet anyway, and hopefully not ever. But yeah, I'm excited to see where Crane goes. I think that there's some design space that really needs to be explored there, like duelists and the wind blowing Asahinas. I hope they flesh those out. All right, shall we move on to listener questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
There's tons, right? We got
a few.
Yeah.
First one is, any plans to go into iTunes? Yeah, we're already on iTunes. Check us out.
I think
next
one of the things about that just is that when we share the cast socially, sometimes we've been missing the Podbean and sometimes we've been missing the iTunes. I know when I shared it a couple of times that I only had one or the other and had to go back and fix it. So
right, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Shout out to us for fucking that up. All right.
Yeah.
Next. Justin Norman just asks, I'm a veritable noob to the game, but I know a lot of the lore surrounding it. What's the best steps for a newbie getting started in this?
Just grind it out.
It's quite an open question. I would suggest decide if you enjoy the game first by learning and playing on Jigoku. And if you enjoy the base mechanics, buy some cores with your friends, start playing. and just avoid the Lion Clan. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Wow, you're so salty.
And
Yep.
didn't you have a friend that was recently trying to get into the game and you wanted a deck for him or something?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually played last night. So what I did was I gave him my exact copy of my current crab deck. And so we played a mirror match, which, most people hate mirror matches, but it was actually really good because I could take him through all the steps of what I was doing and talk him through all the steps of what he could be and should be doing in order to play it optimally. And, I think he had a pretty good experience. So shout out to Zave for, taking that step with me. Good.
Cool.
All right, shall we go to the
Yeah.
next question?
Yep.
Thomas Vanderberg, he asks, since a lot of mechanical or event questions have been asked until death, let's get personal. How did you first enter the world of Magical Samurai? And how did you decide on clan? I think we kind of did that in the intro. But yeah, Ratling was my first clan. I fucking loved the rats.
Yeah. I think I started out as playing Crane. I don't know why. Like, I like this idea of dueling and stuff. But I eventually just kind of went to Phoenix because my name's Merlin and it seemed appropriate.
Dude, when I first met you, I thought for sure that you were just someone who was very into Legend of the Five Rings, and your
Yeah.
real name was not Merlin.
Speaking of which, shout out to Merlin, right? Like the only other Merlin that has even entered my, sphere of consciousness. Plays
Yeah, so
Elbow
I met-
Bar,
I actually met this other Merlin.
Yeah, that's right. I first saw him when you were in San Fran, and he was on the list. I'm like, wait a second, I know that name.
Yeah, so there are two ginger Merlins who are diehard Phoenix players in Legend of the Five Rings.
Yes, and he
And
plays
I-
Phoenix as well.
It was like Bizarro World, man. Like I went up there and he was playing the hard Dishonor deck, so he was playing the exact opposite to you. And I was like, holy shit, dude, crossing over the equator really jumbles things up.
Mirror universe, man.
But he was a great guy. He's actually best mates with Alex, aka jokingly the guy who won, the crab player. So
Oh, sweet.
they got a really strong little mini meta there where they test their decks together.
Yeah.
Really strong player.
Hey, Merlin, if you're listening, are you going to Worlds? Because we totally should do... I don't know if anybody listened, but we did like a giant group cast at the last Worlds. We should do that again, and you should be on it so that we can have like a double Merlin, world-breaking, void-ripping podcast.
Yeah, dude, you could have a Merlin on Merlin fireside chat.
Wow.
What does Merlin
Brought
think
to you by
about
Grindr.
Sponsored by...
Speaking of void ripping,
All right, so shall we move on to the next question?
Please.
All right, in your opinion, this is from Ray Dent, local Scorpion diehard. Shout out, Ray. In your opinion, what would be the quickest and easiest way to FFG to better balance the power of the 7 clans?
Oh,
Well, this is a very, very deep question, and we aren't really game designers, so all we can really do is speculate. But I'll try. The first thing I would do is errata Shameful Display to be 1 ring effect, and then probably outright ban Feast and restrict Restoration of Balance. Those are the things that I would do that would make the biggest impacts for clan balance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the problem with this game has never been the game mechanics. It's always been the cards that they print. Because if you look at the game mechanics, it's actually really, really a very beautiful, symmetric, kind of mechanical system. So I think if you really wanted balance, you would stop printing cards that break certain aspects of that that balance, right? Like the game design, things like recursion and so forth.
Yep. And then the other thing I'd be worried about is just the power of saves. There's just a few too many saves.
Yeah.
Go on, Grinder.
I think that the game needs all 7 factions, or however many factions you're going to have, because the rock, paper, scissors component of L5R has always been one of its strongest balancing factors. So if you ever only have a game of 6, Legend of the 6 clans, you have an imbalance problem, because there's Unicorn, in this case, is a hard counter to clans like Scorpion. It always has been. Now, Cavalry doesn't work quite the way it used to. So maybe that's another factor. Maybe Cavalry, they've been a bit too cautious about, and they've kind of, written it down. The other thing is only having 2 victory conditions. We don't really have 3 victory conditions right now. So being able to actually win by honor and actually having it competitive really helps to bring a whole different axis of balance to the game.
Yeah, and it influences
great
like
answer.
deck building and stuff.
That's a great answer, and I'll just add on to that I think right now there is a rock paper scissors, but one of the aspects isn't there, and that's we have big tower Voltron big guys and hard control, and aggro is kind of absent. Like the unicorn and lion decks are just not strong enough to compete, and so there is a little bit of a homogeny to the top cuts in tournaments for that reason. So I hope that they fix that up a bit.
Cool.
Okay, so next question. This is from our good mate Rob of the Traveling Ronin podcast, another local Melbourne guy. He asks, humorously, is Corset Dishonor still viable? Because this is the only deck that Rob has played since the inception of L5.
Can I clarify Rob's question? Rob's not asking, is Dishonor still viable? He's asking, is Core Set Dishonor with just the cards that I own, because I haven't bought any of the recent cycle, is that still viable? Because all I can do is turn up at tournaments with my old deck.
Oh man, I love this question. I love the pretext. What do you guys think, though?
I think definitely, absolutely. I don't think you can bid one on turn one, but I think every other aspect of defensive Dishonor is 100% viable.
Yep, I agree. You can't bid one turn one, but I think from turn two onwards, you can kind of pull bids down.
Look, as long as your deck has a Scorpion Mon on it, you're in the competition.
All right, so this will be the last question. This is from Baz Shepherd, who's a prominent community member, guy who runs Imperial Advisor Stats, and he's also on the podcast there. Awesome dude. So shout out to you, Baz.
Seriously,
he says,
event coverage, Baz. Good work.
Yep. He says, the French players are working out how to do their own player-run tournament. If you guys could design your own dream tournament, what would it look like with regards to roles, rounds, top cut challenges, facilities, prizes, etc.? So I suppose for this question, we should think about what we would do in Australia and what our dream format would be. Do you guys want to kick things off?
Well, do we want to mention the player-run tournaments that we already have run? Like CanCon, right?
Shout out to you, Merlin.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yes.
It's a tiny local thing.
Any role tournament series, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So we unlocked roles. That was fun.
Yeah, that's one thing I would do, is unlock the roles.
I would love to do a team tournament, like a 3-man team tournament, where you draft the clans in between each round. So every player shows up with a deck from, however many of the clans they can play. So say you might pick 2 or 3 clans that you yourself can play, and then each you play up against a team, and then you each have a ban. One clan you ban your opponents from being able to play, and then you draft the other 6
Sounds
factions.
a lot like Captain's Draft from Daredevil.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think that would be really cool. Like some sort of, or even another cool idea would be drafting provinces, where like if your opponent wants feast, or you unlock provinces, and you say if your opponent wants feast, then you get to take Shameful Display or Resto or whatever. I think that would be kind of cool too. As for like facilities and prizes, I've always been a big fan of community fundraising and getting unique to the tournament prizes that either have insignias from the event or some sort of logo. And I also love like stuff like katanas, or like if you could get a kimono as a prize, that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have my Toppin Clan crab from Portland Cote, like, I don't know, 2012 or something like that, box where it's like engraved wood. And it's like, it's just one of the best prizes ever, because like it's a memento, you've got the time period, you just know what it's from. Yeah, priceless.
Yeah, it's like mixing in a trophy into something you'll use. So then you have a memento and a functional, I think that's cool.
So we've done some local tournaments kind of like that, and the structure that we used was, the first couple of events was mostly around community building. So we had the open roles, so people could play whatever roles they felt like they wanted to. And some people played the official roles. That was fine, because that's what they're used to. And some people played roles that they'd never played before. Enz, you played Seeker of Air in Phoenix. That was really cool.
Keeper of Air.
Keeper of Air. Yeah.
Dude, there's nothing like attacking any ring to get your... It is so good. And Phoenix players who are going to be, you know, in a decision-making position at Worlds, keep Rivera.
Keep Rivera.
Seriously consider of it. Yeah. Consider it. Awesome.
And then in terms of prizes and facilities and things, before this game came out, I went on a big spending spree and bought a whole bunch of old L5R boxes and tokens and sealed product and stuff like that, which we ended up using as prize support. And I think that stuff's really good.
Oh man, I've got some of that loot and it is fucking great. Like that Shadows Embrace box with all the acrylic dividers for each clan. I use that every day. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I know that Daniel, one of the local guys who won the Forgotten Legacy box, the big long box, he's in love with that.
Yeah. Well, that thing's got a high street value too.
Yeah.
Until he realizes that anything at the end of the box under the sword hill's a pain in the ass to get to, but, you know, he'll get there.
Yeah. Well, in the old game, you didn't have quite so many tokens. In this game, it's great storage space.
I played, when that came out, I was playing Corrupt Fox Clan. I had so many tokens, you don't even want to know.
Just one more thing on this topic. Well, when Gen Con is coming up, right? So if you've got a friend, or if you've got friends from the French playgroup going to Gen Con, there's the artists exhibition there, right? And plenty of the L5R artists go there, so you can get signed cards and artwork and maybe even tokens and stuff. That type of stuff would be really cool too, and relatively cheap.
All right, and I've got one last thing to do. Shout out to Monkeys and Pirates, local player, and he manages and runs the Deck of Five Rings app, which is a sweet app that you can check out all the recent spoilers and build decks on it and stuff. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely love that app. That's the app where I go and look up all my rulings on. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's got all the rulings for every card like at your fingertips. It's really handy if you're in the middle of a game and need to check.
And crazy easy searching too.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up for tonight, I think. In future episodes, we're going to be looking at the coming Worlds meta more in depth, kind of trying to pick apart which roles we think are actually going to be seen to be played at these events.
Yeah, and we should talk about our practice and stuff like that, what we've learned on the way.
Absolutely. And next episode, we should have another playtest session under our belt so we can recount Tales of Glory from that. But yeah, that's us for tonight. Do you guys have any last words, Melon?
No, maybe shout out to the Jade Throne podcast. We seem to be giving everybody shout outs at the moment, but definitely shout out to the Jade Throne. Those guys are awesome.
All right, Andy.
Yeah, shout out to Imperial Advisor. They gave us a shout out like last week, so shout out back to you.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you for listening, Rokugan. Good night.